You can look up in this building in a matter of few hours when it's full, and you can see a black man and a white man eating out of the same popcorn box. Woo! That's funky. That's the American dream.
Welcome, everybody. It is another rip-roaring edition of the Sports Hole. I'm your host, Luke. With me, as always, XFL Jim, Rock and Roll Matty Goldberg. We are watching the final quarter of the Lions Seahawks game, too. So if you hear weird grunts and yells, that's what's going on.
I already hit the over. I hit Williams anytime TD. I got a parlay, Titans, Detroit, money line. So I can hit it all tonight.
Wow.
Boy, man.
Yeah. And I got a nice little DraftKings going. So
you get them, son.
That's how my night's going. I mean, I don't got $1 million, but I got some winning tickets.
Sounds like a good night to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. If the Lions can just get a stop here and seal this fucking game, I'd be happy.
It's been an absolute track meet.
Yeah.
Keep scoring.
All right. Pete Rose, dead. 83.
As I said, hopefully there's a sports book in heaven.
Are you sure that's where he's going?
Oh, he's going to heaven.
You know there's a sports book in hell.
Of course.
Right. But I feel like the sports book in hell would you'd almost get close to winning all the time.
Now, you know what a sports book in hell would be?
What would it be?
It would be slow payouts, bad lines, bad juice.
And you could only bet on women's golf?
Limited. No, you get limited too.
Yeah. That would be a sports book in hell where they go. Back in the day, what they used to do, these companies, you would try to withdraw and they wouldn't take your money out because they knew you just get so antsy you want to bet again. And 2 days later, they're like, payouts in 48 hours. You're like, it's been 72 hours.
Right.
Well, we got to go through this, then we got to go through that, but now they do it because there's too much competition.
Well, it's no different than that scene in Casino when De Niro has them fuck up the Japanese gambler's plane after he hosed him.
Yeah.
So he sits around the hotel and just goes back to gambling and then ends up owing him money.
Exactly.
House always wins.
But Pete Rose, a very polarizing character, may rest in peace. I think, I watched that HBO documentary. One of the sad parts was him not getting into the Hall of Fame. And I think a lot of people wanted to see him see himself. The last thing he could do before he died was make the Hall of Fame. And it's not meant to be.
Yeah, it sucks. Piss on. Well, wasn't there stuff that came out later? He actually was kind of betting on his own games or something.
Well, he admitted it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He's also in the WWE Hall of Fame.
When was he on WWE?
What's that?
When was he on WWE?
Dude, oh my God. Watch WrestleMania where he got choked out by Kane in Boston.
Oh, what? Pete Rose got choked out by Kane?
Yeah, he came in and he was like, this city's a bunch of chokers. It goes through the ball's legs. This was 97.
Oh, he just came out.
And then Kane came out and grabbed him by the neck and chokeslammed.
Oh, that's amazing.
So he was on a couple of WrestleManias, so they gave him he's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, good. At least he's in one Hall of Fame. The only one that matters.
For Vince to understand.
Yeah, no, Vince is a compassionate guy.
Exactly.
You can always count on Vince McMahon to do the right thing.
He cares about people. And we will be covering Mr. McMahon, the new series on Netflix. We'll do an episode a week for the next 6 weeks here. We'll go through that at the end of the episode here. If
it brought in money.
First one.
By the way, something just crazy happened.
What happened, Matty?
The Titans just scored a touchdown with 20 seconds left, up 24-12. They could have sat on the ball. The spread was 37.5. This is a garbage touchdown for a team they could have just sat on the ball. Very interesting. I wonder if Mike McDaniel's gonna like that. Sorry, Jim. It's been a rough.
It's fine. It's I'm over. I'm over this season already, Matt.
We're on to Nebraska.
Yeah, you got the whole shit stain of a season here. But just to give you a little preview of the Vince McMahon series, apparently he had wrote a storyline where he was going to impregnate his daughter.
I heard about that.
Yeah, it got nixed, but they talk about that kind of shit later on in the series. So, just when you think you've heard it all,
my only worry for the series is the potential that Netflix has shown to like stretch things out longer than they need to be. But I don't know how you can actually do that with someone like Vince McMahon.
You know what's sad about me is like I know everything. I'm like I know this. So far I'm on number 4 or 5, but I'm like. There's nothing really I've learned, unfortunately, and they
should have brought you in as a fact checker.
Well, who knows?
Also, guys, we've covered so much Vince McMahon on the show between news reports and every dark side of the ring. It's going to be hard to come up with new shit. But one thing that struck me though is that this is the first time he's actually doing an interview about himself.
Well, he did put Pete Rose in the hall, so.
He looks weird as shit, though. He looks like one of those puppets from the Genesis video, Land of Confusion.
Yeah. This is the land.
Yeah, like that Ronald Reagan puppet.
I remember that video very well.
Kind of weird. Okay, guys. You want to start with college, Jim?
Sure.
Smithy?
We can start with college.
Well, I guess we'll start with the upset. Kentucky beat Ole Miss.
Yeah, I got a dude in my poker thing who's an Ole Miss alumni, and he was like, he said we always ride him. He's one of those guys, and he's like, I hope Kentucky scores at half. I'm gonna nuke Ole Miss. They're gonna win by 2 TDs. They're just one of those teams. Like they're not ever gonna get to that Georgia Bama level. They're a second-tier team.
The issue with Ole Miss is they were supposed to have fixed a bunch of their issues with the transfer portal, and they did a really good job picking guys up, but this is the kind of game that they couldn't lose this season. Everyone would have been fine if they lost to Bama.
Sure.
That's expected.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like they had to win all the easy games because they knew they were probably going to drop 2 to the big dogs, but this could knock them out of the top 12. I mean, especially if they can't beat Georgia. I don't think they'll beat Georgia. I don't think they'll beat Bama. They're not that, they got exposed. Like Jackson Dart is a good quarterback against garbage teams.
If he gets flustered, it's over for them, and their defense is still really bad. Kentucky's defense, on the other hand, Kentucky's like the Iowa of the SEC, where they just play defense and drag teams down to their level.
Yeah,
and they're interesting because remember they almost and maybe should have beat Georgia.
Yeah. Well, they have no margin of error, even with the 12 teams. I mean, if it was last year, they'd be done, but there's no margin of error right now for sure.
No.
And we had
Kentucky's biggest win, like their biggest win since like the 60s, by the way.
I mean, they could have won
the 60s. Really, games. I feel like they've been a little more relevant in the last few years, and then
they have not been like a top 6 team, I believe.
Wow. Okay.
I think if they beat Georgia, I mean, they got very close to beating Georgia too.
Yeah. So Georgia came back against Bama, which I didn't realize. I kind of went and took a shit. I thought the game was over.
Well, I think a lot of people thought it was over.
Yeah, I've talked to multiple people at work that were like, "Man, I thought that game was over. I went to bed, or I went out and did something else."
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I turn it on. And I'm like, it's like Bama, that receiver just made an insane. It was the weirdest looking catch I've ever seen. And Ron, he's like twisting one way, twisting the other, and then just flies into the end zone.
I mean, he's 17 years old.
Yeah.
I'm kind of worried about that because it's like he's peaking too fast. Like he's got to go healthy for the next 3 years to get, you'd much rather be a senior or a junior doing this than a freshman because you can't go to the NFL for another couple of years anyway. And it's like There's only one place to go, down.
Well, I think for receiver you're okay.
Yeah.
If it was a running back, I'd be super worried. The craziest thing to me is like the two best receivers in college football are both freshmen, and they're both like super young.
Insane. I mean, the moves that this kid has, these are, yeah, they always say joystick moves. He has joystick moves.
Yeah, very creative.
I don't even
That
think
game
he
was
knows what
amazing,
he's.
by the
I
way.
think it's just so like he's just incredible, like just that natural and ability to do things that us dorks can't. That we watch and go, holy shit.
And fucking at the start of the game, Jalen Milroe was just going off. This
Yeah,
is easily the best game.
it's
He
one of those
looked
games where you go, you hype yourself up, you're pumped up all day to watch it. You're like, you want a classic, and then you're like, wow, this is a dud. Like, this is an absolute dud. And then you're like, okay, this is interesting now. And then it became one of the classics. The
Yeah,
the
this is
only game
easily so far the best game of the season.
the game that I think that like as far as emotions that made me feel was the Auburn Alabama field goal return game was like that kind of like holy shit kind of
Yeah.
feel.
Yep, Maddie, that was like 10 years ago.
I know, but there hasn't been a game that good since. I'm telling you.
You know what? I kind of agree with you.
I
The
mean,
last great college football game.
I mean, this goes up right with. I'm not going to say Texas USC because that was higher stakes, but as far as Bama Auburn, like that, like back and forth, like holy moly, like what can happen next?
It
Because you
goes.
feel
So
like once, yeah,
I put this up there with like Bama Clemson. I think part 2, which was
yeah, that
back
was a
and
great
forth, the
one.
crazy one.
Yeah,
That Bama won. That Rose Bowl where it was Oklahoma Georgia back in
yeah, that was a great
2017,
one.
I think
Baker
2016.
Mayfield,
Yeah, like
yeah.
this is easily the best game of the 2020s. I think.
This is a fantastic game, and it was the two big teams, and the hype. It lived up to the hype.
And Kalen DeBoer is fucking here, boys.
By the way, kudos to Kirby Smart for coming back. You know, you gotta have a good grip on your team to make sure they don't hang their heads after that kind of first half.
And he was very proud of his guys. He said, they showed a lot of heart.
But also, is it something like where it's like, oh, now they've taken the last 2 from Georgia, so is this going to get back in Georgia's head now? Like, oh shit, are we back to being second fiddle again?
I mean, they had
I don't know about that. Let me just say this real quick. I just think I came away almost more impressed with Georgia with the way they almost came back and we're winning.
Yeah, me too. They're got to be very confident if they meet again, just for the fact that, like, hey, Alabama gave us the absolute gut punch, and we fucking took the lead in a game that everybody went out and did something else and turned it off.
The only thing I worried about, so I saw the stat that Georgia since 2021 only has 3 losses. And they're all to Alabama.
Wow. That's insane. That is nuts. And to think like they didn't even get into the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
You know, just with that one late season loss. Like, it's good that we're entering an era where that's not going to happen again. You know? So
I don't care what people say. This game still matters. There's plenty of people that boo-hoo the playoff.
It matters. Yes, for sure.
You can tell by how hard both teams were playing.
Because even though it's still like it's 12 teams, there's still not a lot of margin for error. You can probably drop 1, but 2 now, it's like if they were to 2, you're treading water, you know. Might not happen.
These are the programs that you measure yourself against.
Yeah.
So like these are no matter when it takes place in the season, this kind of game, like a Georgia versus a Bama or like an Ohio State versus a Michigan, those games will always matter.
Always matter.
Yeah. Texas looked sluggish opening, but they came back out and got her done with Arch Manning. Any takeaways from that?
I mean, if Arch Manning starts next week, it's going to be kind of fun and interesting and crazy for Red River.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I asked you about Brett Venables. He loses again. Is he?
We're talking about that. He won.
Oh, they won.
Yeah, Oklahoma won.
So they're 3-1.
Yeah.
Okay, but
they beat Auburn because as well. So like Peyton Thorne had a great game, threw for over 300 yards, and what was like what I still believe is a pretty darn good Oklahoma defense.
Mhm.
And then while Auburn is up in the fourth quarter, they decide to throw the ball. He throws a pick six.
Well, that's stupid. I just saw they were down most of the game, so I assumed they lost. There's just so many games that my bad. I'm coming off very
They're
unprofessional.
starting a true freshman quarterback now, so their offense looks a little bit better, still not good, but that defense, Oklahoma's defense is good.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma's probably going to be like a 6-6, 7-5 team, but they're going to give teams fits with that defense.
Mhm.
Guys, important question. This will be the most important question each
Of
week
the
going
year?
forward. What is your crystal ball confidence?
My crystal ball, what?
Crystal ball confidence.
Of what?
How
Not-
confident are you in Mario Cristobal?
Not
Okay,
crystal ball.
so that game reminded me of, I don't know, do you guys remember the replacement refs?
Yeah.
Who could
You remember
forget?
Seattle, Green Bay?
Yeah.
So, okay, here's a thing I'm gonna say. I'm gonna be tough on Luke here.
No, don't be tough
I'm a
on
Michigan
me.
guy, but you're more of a Michigan guy. I felt like two of the worst calls were given to the higher team, like the higher team of importance. So that Minnesota onside kick,
That one, I think, was way worse. I think that one was way worse.
Okay. And then the Miami one, now I would say it's probably incomplete, but if you call the touchdown, I don't know how you can overturn that. You can't see. It's like you couldn't see anything.
So that's where I go with the Miami one is like,
Yeah.
I think it was probably incomplete. Like, I think they ended up getting the right call.
Yes.
I thought the rule was, it's very dumb rule, but I thought the rule was what is called on the field, and then you need indisputable evidence. Well,
Sure.
you're never going to get indisputable evidence with that.
No, I mean it reminded me a lot of that game, and I don't know. It's just like it's so hard to switch that call because you could not see shit. And I was like, okay, well, they want this Cam Ward story. They want the U to be back. So, like, let's fucking just give it to them. Like, let's give it to the team that needs to win more. But I that's unfair to Virginia.
I don't think that was a catch.
No,
I mean, it wasn't.
I didn't think it was in live time. I didn't think it was in replay at all.
Yeah.
I think they ended up getting the right call, but that ref really kind of fucked things up. And also,
yeah, go ahead.
I have no pity for Virginia Tech because it's the end of the game and you're just acting like it's putt-putt time. You're taking all the time in the world on this drive. What are you doing?
Also, that extra point, the fake field goal made 0 sense. 0 fucking sense. So it's like you took points off the board. You don't do that dumb fake field goal. You kick a field goal to win the game, so you hurt yourself. But very controversial game.
The Michigan one was way worse to me. The Michigan Minnesota one was way worse.
And that's something that they should be able to review. And that was something like, come on, like you really, it was that, you have to have a blatant offside there. And like, look, I'm rooting for Michigan, but I felt like, they got it wrong. The refs there.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know. I don't like. I prefer if things played out without controversy, but that's just part of the game too.
And I'll say this, Lou.
Yes.
Be ready for like a heart attack sort of season because the way Michigan's going to play, they're going to be in a lot of close games.
Well, they just got to say
I will say what they need to do. Here's what they'll do, and they'll win 8 games, no problem, maybe 9. Okay. Yeah. Just keep running the fucking ball.
Yeah.
Don't even pass it. Pass it maybe to a tight end, not once out of every 10 times. Okay.
They got to play like Tim Tebow in the NFL.
Here's the deal. But here's what I'm seeing though.
Yeah.
When they pass, it's either, okay, you get an incomplete, 2nd or 3rd and long, a sack, bad field position again, or an interception. If you run, you can probably gain 2 to 3 yards a carry minimum, even if you ran every fucking play. Okay.
Look, I'm for them running as much as possible because they have no passing gain every once in a while, but they just don't have a quarterback that can light it up, and they have great running
No,
backs.
I'm saying
that
they
kid
go
is great.
go full army. Go fucking
Yeah.
full army.
Because I would not trust Michigan in like a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8.
No, and you won't have to have that if you just run every time.
Well, this
You
week
will have
they're
a
in the
3rd and
lights,
5.
dead
Worse.
fish.
What's that?
They're in the lights in Washington, the rematch.
I know that'll be
I don't
good.
think Washington has one returning player, so it's not much of like a
No, and I mean Michigan sent 14 people to the NFL too.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts.
Just so you know, Detroit's a 3rd and goal. Up by
Okay.
8.
Good to know. That's AJ Barner, who was the backup tight end last year on Michigan, is tearing it up tonight.
Sorry, guys. Did he keep his feet in bounds? Touchdown.
Who got it, Maddie?
I think St. Brown.
All right. Beautiful.
So it's 41-27 with an extra point pending.
All right.
The Lions are cooking tonight. Did he get his feet in bounds? 1. Oh, beautiful.
Well, the good news for Lions fans, Lions offense is back in form now.
Oh, it's cooking tonight.
It's been a little sluggish last few games, but
I realized though, like with Buffalo last night after winning 3 games in a row, Seattle's 3-0. It just seems like it's so hard to go 4-0. And there's the competition in the NFL is so tough. And it's, being in a confidence league, there's a game every week that you have is like your top game that you don't have to cover the spread that's going to go the other way. It's been like that the whole season. So Lions are up.
Other note in college, Colorado football won again. They're winning games I felt they were going to be losing.
This one they dominated.
Yeah.
This one was the most impressive win under the Deion Sanders era.
Agreed.
Like they dominated UCF, but they were physical.
Yeah.
They ran the ball.
They ran the ball, and they could not be ran on by UCF team who has a good running attack.
I don't know why they don't understand that. Like, if you run the ball, your whole passing offense opens up. You have to run the ball to have a good passing game. And they didn't figure that out the first. It was just Shador, just go back, try to be a hero. But when you run the ball, everything opens up. They got to respect it, and then things get open.
Yeah.
Unless you're a pure air raid team, Maddie's 100% right.
Well, yeah, there are some pure air raid teams too. The run and shoot.
Well, it's the more Shador passes, the more likely he is to become the Heisman winner. So maybe
no. If anyone on that team's winning the Heisman, it's Travis
Hunter.
Yeah, Travis Hunter's got to win it. I agree.
I love watching him play.
I mean, right now it's like Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, and I will say the quarterback of Bama.
What do you see Travis Hunter doing in the NFL? I mean,
he's going to be a monster.
I think he'd be a better DB, honestly.
He probably would be, but I think if he wants to get paid, he's got to play wide receiver.
He'll be a DB, but then they'll have a 10, 12 play package as wide receiver. They'll kind of use him like they use Deion. So Charles Woodson, somebody like that, where he's not going to be on offense for 50 plays, but for 5 or 10 plays, a reverse, some sort of get him out in space. He's too good not to have him on the field.
I mean, they could. You just don't see that in the pros much. Deion.
But he's that good.
Yeah.
He's that fucking good.
Did you guys see that Oklahoma player just level that male cheerleader?
Yes, I did.
That gave me a chubby.
The funniest fucking shit.
Awesome.
Fuck that guy.
Guys, what's funny too is actually the cheerleader kind of leveled the football player doing backflips.
Yeah, the cheerleader kind of did a kung fu move on him.
Right. So you think it's that big masculine football player is going to take down that hand clapping cheerleader. No, the cheerleader was doing backflips and took him out.
We had a kid who was he was a male cheerleader in our high school and used to get made fun of. And he used to say, figure it this way. The guys are on the field fingering the other guys. I'm on the sidelines fingering up the girls.
Dude, we had on my football team a few years before me, a guy was all-state linebacker, right?
Yeah.
And then he in basketball season was an all-state cheerleader.
Well, they got to be strong.
Yeah, no, the dude was an athlete. That guy, he was also like the best running back we had too. He's probably an all-conference running back as well. Like we won the state championship with him that year.
Like, you know how hard football is? The best football player my high school had when I was there, and this guy was fucking good, was good enough to play special teams for Cornell.
Yeah.
And this guy rushed like 2,000 yards, like something like he was averaging 150, 160 a game.
And
he was only good enough to play special teams at Cornell.
Oh my God.
That's
not even like they don't even give scholarships there, do they?
I'm not sure.
Well, it's Cornell's Ivy League, right?
Yeah.
No, they do not give athletic scholarships.
Yeah. So he just it's just like a walk-on too.
Yeah, but it's kind of wild.
Yeah. Other interesting news, and this might be a first, that UNLV quarterback quit because he says he didn't get the NIL money he was promised.
Back, and I disagree.
What do you mean with
you guys said like he should walk?
No. I'm saying if he was promised one thing and they didn't like deliver on the promise, I would probably walk.
Look, this is going to be possibly this guy's only chance to earn money from football. Okay. So if that's it, then you have to get it.
Yeah, if he doesn't think he's going to make the pros, you got to cut.
That kid's Matt Saluka is not making the pros. He's not a good quarterback.
Okay.
Right. So if this is your chance to get $100K,
well, where is he going to get $100K somewhere else?
He might now, because now he's going to sit another year.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then
Auburn would, as bad as I said he is, Auburn would take him in a heartbeat.
You make more money going to Auburn too. You probably get a couple 100,000.
But it doesn't even matter because they brought in the other guy. So this Sluka played at Holy Cross. He was a stud at Holy Cross, stud-ish.
Right.
But the guy that they had as backup was like the #1 quarterback at Campbell. And he comes in and they just dominate. They won by like 35, 40 points against Fresno State.
Right.
And then one of the receivers came out and said, "Hey, because it was the guy who offered 100,000 allegedly, or someone, director over at Circa said he'll pay 100,000."
So is college sports, or is this pro sports now?
It's pro sports.
College sports, yeah, it's pro.
It's
like,
pro.
What if you go to class and you're like struggling, and you like some guys like, I ain't going to school unless I get $100,000. And I don't know. It's weird.
Well, no, there was apparently last year, I read this. What threatened to be the first mass walkout over pay in modern college football unfolded on September 9th, 2023 at a Marriott in Iowa City, Iowa, as team members from the visiting Spartans of Michigan State gathered in the lobby the evening before their game against the Hawkeyes. The mood was charged with anxiety. Man, they pulled all the money from us, said one player. According to another player, take me to the airport. I'm going back, because their NIL funding had ran out on that game.
Crazy story.
Yeah, but this is the reality now.
Go to Michigan.
Right?
That problem wouldn't happen.
Well, Dave Portnoy is just like, I will sponsor a quarterback each year. I'll pay him $3 million.
I love it.
To have Michigan, I'll get him the best quarterback each year, but here's the deal. Well, Michigan, like, it's almost like a political campaign. You got the people who donate directly to the campaign, and then you have the super PACs, that are doing the advertising, sort of like, yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to name drop here, but
drop them.
When my niece was really young, her best friend father was a dude who wrote Semi-Pro, Old School, Hangover 2.
Yeah.
And he would come over to watch football. Now, huge Bears fan, somewhat a nice guy, could be a little, but he liked me, and he would come over to watch football. Because like he could let his kid play upstairs and come down and watch football. And he was telling he's like, I've been talking to Will Ferrell about a movie called Boosters. And how great would that have been? Will Ferrell would have played like a Southern booster.
Oh yeah.
And I could
Yeah.
see Dave Portnoy playing himself as like a Michigan, like a Northeastern state
Right.
booster. So you
Yeah.
have all these fucking characters that are like, if it took place in the 80s, it would be fucking great.
Yeah. Oh, no, it'd be hilarious. It would have
Yeah.
been really funny.
Because now it's like they're just doing it over the table. This is what they used to do under the table, and now they're doing it over the table.
Well, that's the thing too, is like so you're going to have like the Portnoys and stuff. That's basically what he can do, is that's just an endorsement,
Yeah.
he can sell an endorsement for his company. But then there's the colleges are going to have to start paying the people directly, the kids directly. I think some already are.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Well, they cleared the way for that a while ago, and I think some colleges actually are. I heard. Remember when A&M got that big class a few years ago?
And they did nothing.
And they were like, like if you were a lineman, you got paid like $100,000 right off the top, and
Crazy.
like it was nuts, and it did nothing for him. And Jimbo eventually got fired, and like it was a mess. But it is clearly the Wild West. Nobody knows what's going on. I'm pretty sure the Big Ten and SEC will just form a super league at some point and make their own rules and fuck the NCAA,
Yeah.
We're probably headed there.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, because it's just chaos right now. And this isn't fair to fans of these schools too. Like this quarterback's just sitting out now because he's not getting paid. Like, it makes no sense.
Well, I think he feels he's got one payday.
No, that's it. And he's smart. Get your money, son, because these guys are making money. You should be making money,
But
especially
if you don't get
pros.
that money, you're making a bet on yourself. And who's the jackass that told him that he could get that money? Because they I guess they just lied to him. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how contracts are drawn up in these either. Because it sounds like it's just sort of a handshake agreements too.
Yeah.
Like that's what's bizarre to me. I mean, he could frankly sue whoever gave him that.
Well, I don't know if they did it with a real agreement.
Yeah.
Contract.
Yeah.
No, but this shit, it makes everything look so bush league though. When you have these kinds of situations.
That is a problem.
I don't know. It's going to be a fucking few shitty years, I think. And you're going to see players that are just going to go from a different team each year where they can grab more cash and more cash and more cash.
Like they said about Eric Dickerson, they're like, he's the only guy to ever take a pay cut in the NFL. And we're going to see that. We're going to see guys that are actually going to probably make more in college.
Also, SMU is going to be a powerhouse because they have a lot of billionaires boosters from that school.
Dude, they're solely funding their entire transition to the ACC.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're getting no TV revenue for like 3 years.
No, it's going to be nuts. That SMU, which has been a dead school in athletics in our lifetime, is going to come back into a form. BYU could even be massive too. Mormon's BYU, richer than anybody.
BYU undefeated, driver's seat for the Big 12 right now.
Yeah. The only problem with going there is you got to go to a mission first. I don't know. I wonder if you can transfer in there and not do your mission.
I don't know.
Yeah, Jim, you got to do a deep dive with BYU's rules.
I got to figure that out for BYU.
Yeah. Okay. Enough college sports.
Oh, I did want to mention Mac Brown probably should have retired last week.
Did they lose again?
What happened this week?
They gave up the largest lead that Duke has ever gotten. Duke was down by like 24 points.
Oh boy.
And they came back and won.
Wow.
So North Carolina's in shambles.
Yeah.
That sucks. It sucks because it was such a good story for a while, with him just coaching way late in life and bringing some prominence to a North Carolina team that usually goes under the radar.
Also, Indiana is potentially on track for a 9-win team. That's just fun.
They're
They
good.
dominated
They're
Maryland.
good. They're
fun
good every
team.
few
Yeah,
years,
very
man.
good.
Good for
So
them.
fun. Kurt Signetti is just a blast. I love him as a coach.
All right. Moving to the NFL.
Sorry. Service academies, both Army and Navy, both 4-0 since World War II.
Wait, what?
This is the first time Army and Navy have both been 4-0 since World War II.
That's
oh, wow.
wild.
What was their record before World War II?
Not great. But they're on track. Like those teams are like Army and Navy are legit fun. They're good. They killed the Temple and UAB this week.
All right. We'll be on the lookout. They should let them play with guns, too. I mean, if they're really the armed forces.
They should. And if they go undefeated, that's a playoff team right there.
That would be very fucking cool. And one of the greatest plays in NFL history, Patrick Mahomes threw a pick and then tore his best wide receiver's ACL in the
Rashee Rice.
in one play.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this.
Look, they keep winning too, and their story is their defense, and they just figure out ways to win. But I feel like they remind me of the Patriots in 2019, who went 8-0, and then by then you could just kind of see like they couldn't sustain it anymore, and they had a really bad year.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much longer because they seem to be getting thin at wide receiver and running back, and their defense is carrying them, and they're getting lucky. And I just feel like the luck's going to run out.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily luck. I think Mahomes is just like he's so damn athletic. You forget how smart he is.
He also, if you want to win, if he needs to beat you 35-31, he'll do that. If he needs to beat you 17-13, he'll do that. And that's why
like they kind of just coast at the start of the season.
Well, these are tough games. They're not scoring a lot, but their defense has been A+.
Yeah, who'd have thought they would be carried by their defense? Like
you never know. You never know.
Vikings moved to 4-0 with a win
legit.
Over the Packers. Sam
Darnold with Jordan Addison back. Holy shit!
Yeah,
he's very good.
Yeah, it's a real team.
They got a lot of weapons. They got a good running back. Their defense was good, although they struggled a little in the second half. They just got to learn how to put away games. That game should have been put away. It got close. But they are the surprise team because I think when J.J. McCarthy went down, everybody was like, oh, my God, it's going to be a nightmare season. And Darnold's been great, and they're a huge surprise.
Yeah. No, it's
the fun stat for you, Luke. I believe J.J. McCarthy hasn't lost a game since January 2023.
Oh, sir.
Yep. It's been a minute.
And I don't think he would have won the starting job, even though he played so good in the first.
No, this is perfect for him. He needed to sit a year anyways. I
even look at like Drake May, and I was like, yeah, you don't want to put him at San Francisco. You gotta figure out the perfect home start against a very mediocre D that you can ease him in. You don't want him getting his head crushed by a top 5 defense.
Well, they put him in at the end of the Jets game, and he didn't look very comfortable.
No,
So.
And the Jets got a pretty good D, but the Jets do the Jets things, and they lose, and they disappoint everybody. A game they should have won.
Oh, did you watch this game?
I did. YouTube TV. You have the ticket, Luke?
No. I'm usually working a lot
watch
too.
4 games at one time.
I like to watch one game. That's it.
And
I'll toggle between 2.
Even in college, I watch.
Oh, college, the 4 box is great. Getting to watch like 12 games in a day.
Not only that, I got 4 boxes going, and then on my iPad, I got another 2 boxes going.
Yeah, I don't know. I have my limits. You
That's
guys
called
are
being a man.
Superhuman. Being a man. I'm at work. I can't watch. I could watch one game. I can't watch 4.
But let me think of some of the games this week. Like Jalen Daniels is the man.
Like probable of the year.
I've never seen anything like this.
I mean, it's weird because like Stroud was like a technician, but Jaden Daniels
Yeah.
is just fun to
Yeah,
watch.
but
Oh my
CJ
god.
Stroud didn't even start like this.
No, he didn't start like that. And Jaden Daniels just something else. And the Commanders, I mean, how much faith do you have in this team?
Um, a lot. Because I didn't know how good of a coach Dan Quinn was. I thought he was a very mediocre coach, overrated. But he's like they just seem like they got a plan. They haven't had a plan in a long time.
Yeah.
They actually looks like they're building something, and when their defense catches up, they're going to be fucking good. And I don't know if this year is the year, but like they have a blueprint that like most teams would kill to have. And I don't even think Caleb Williams is playing bad. I think Caleb Williams is exactly where he needs to be, but Jalen Daniels is playing so good that it's like overshadowing, Caleb Williams, who I would say is a B right now.
Yeah, I think with Caleb, it was just always about those just crazy plays,
Yeah.
and he doesn't have a good line this year either. So
But he can play. I mean, he can clearly play.
no, I know he can play, but he has no line. They should have been drafting linemen, not other
No.
receivers.
Well, this was a big win for them, even though the Rams have a lot of injuries. A win is a win. You never apologize for a win. So the
We have
Ravens.
the Bucks stomping the Eagles.
Yeah, so you hear about this whole Tom Brady, Baker Mayfield
It sounded
beef?
kind of like bullshit. I don't know.
No, it's pretty legit.
Tell
I
the fans at
did
home.
not hear about this.
Okay, so in an interview, like kind of an offhand comment, Baker Mayfield was like, people were really uptight. So when I came in here, I tried to loosen up and make things fun for the guys. And I think Brady took that as a real insult. So he was doing the Bucks game, and he hasn't been doing a good job as an announcer. Maybe it'll be good, but he finally got real, and he was just like, "Yeah, well, I don't do this for like recreation. Like, I want to have fun. I'll take my kids to Disney." And you could tell that the announcer set him up, and then he wanted to take a shot.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Baker Mayfield was like, my comment was out of context, but. The first time, like Brady, like he was mad.
Oh, good. I mean,
So
dude, you can't talk shit if you won a Super Bowl with that
no,
team. You
yeah,
can't talk shit, dude.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Because he was like, I went to winning Super Bowls. Like I came here to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
I demand a lot from the guys, and the gift is winning a Super Bowl. So if I want to have fun, I'll go to Disney with my kids. But he was mad.
Ah, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
But that was dumb of Baker to say. I mean, I'm happy that Baker has found a home and is doing great,
yeah,
but kind of a dumb thing to say.
very dumb.
Especially like when you're doing good and everybody wants to be on your side now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, he'll be fine. I think they'll make up. He said it was taken out of context.
yeah.
But it was pretty funny.
All right. The Jags are now 0-4.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
What happened to this team?
That be the Dolphins.
They played well. They're now in this thing like they can't win a fucking game, but I thought they played very well. I mean, playing Houston on the road is tough, but I don't know if the coach is the right coach. Maybe they got to change that. But it's pretty surprising because they're probably the best 0-4 team I've ever seen.
Really?
What are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence, Matty?
I still like him. I still believe in him somewhat, but he's got to have more of a killer instinct. He's got to be more of a hard ass on his players, his teammates. I think he's too nice of a guy.
0-9 is last night.
I'm aware of that. Yeah, and that sucks, but I think they'll finally get off. They got Tennessee in their division. They hopefully they should have beat Miami. That was the bad one. The Lions are about to win this game, by the way.
Well, it's about time.
A 15-point win too.
Seattle's been having Detroit's number last few years.
Yeah,
too,
they have.
So,
They beat them like 9 out of 10 times or something.
It's a good win. It's a good
Very
win.
good.
But Seattle looks good though.
They'll be fine. Although Geno Smith just took a nasty hit, which sucks. I mean, it sucks to see how hard these guys like watching the Broncos Jets. This Bronco running back like collapsed on the sidelines, and it was scary. And it's just like they just put him on a stretcher, they wheel him out, and then the game goes on. It's just
It's
Yeah.
football, baby.
that's
I always
football.
thought the field should be made out of conveyor belts. So when you're lying there, they can just
Next
turn the
man
thing
up.
on,
Yeah,
move you off to the side so we don't
yeah.
have to sit through another 10 minutes of commercials. Let's
Yes,
get your
sir.
ass out of there. Ravens thumping the Bills.
I don't think too much of this game. I still love the Bills this year. I think it's hard to go 4-0. It's a tough spot. But they had Ravens are back. They finally realized like get Derrick Henry the ball first, and Derrick Henry's still a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he can get any momentum, it's over.
Yeah. He's like power and speed combined. It's pretty wild.
Did you guys hear Brett Favre has Parkinson's?
Very sad.
Did hear about that.
This
Said he
was
had
like
over
a Kevin
1,000
Spacey move,
concussions.
though. This was like, when Kevin Spacey was getting those accusations, he's like, look,
Yeah.
as a gay man, I'm
Yeah,
like,
no, I know.
Brett Favre's like, look,
Yeah.
as a guy with Parkinson's, I
1,000
don't know.
concussions. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'll be following this to see what happens with his ass, though, because this was,
Sure.
but also I hope he's
I believe
medically
it.
okay.
The way he played, I believe it.
Oh yeah, no, it's not like I doubt it. It's just kind of a weird way to announce it to the world
Yeah.
in something where your health has nothing to do with whether you were in on some welfare fraud or something.
Well, he's probably trying to get some sort of sympathy going.
Yeah, ain't working for the Lukester. Ain't getting some from me. Tell you that. Maddie, you want to give us a quick update on the MLB playoffs here?
Yeah,
What's
I'm
going
gonna
on?
put some money on the Lions, the Tigers to
Yeah,
make
you
it to
think
the
they
World
can do
Series.
it?
They are my bet. Every
Okay.
year it seems like one team comes out of nowhere. And the Diamondbacks last year, this year is going to be the Tigers. They came out of nowhere. I think in a month ago they were like 1% to make the playoffs. They got super hot and they got some good pitching, some good hitting. They're my team. The stronger teams you really can't go by because like last year, the Dodgers were out fast. A lot of the good top teams, the Orioles were out fast. So I think the playoffs in Major League Baseball is an absolute crapshoot, and you got to look to the hot team.
Also,
So, yeah,
haven't the the teams getting the first round buys been taking a beating?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So the Tigers start tomorrow, and then today was really weird. So we had a situation where the Braves and the Mets were playing a doubleheader. If they split, they're both in. If one of them sweeps, that team that sweeps is in, and then the loser has to play a 1-game playoff against the Diamondbacks in Arizona. If Arizona, if they split, Arizona's out. So the Mets win the first game in a classic, and obviously they have no incentive to play anybody the second game. And like, why would they?
Right.
It just sucks for the D-backs because they had to know that whoever wins the first game, you're going to bench all your players the second game.
Yeah.
And that's what the Mets did. As a matter of fact, they weren't even running out ground balls. But it's just the way it is. It's like you got to take care of your business, right? So, I mean,
the Diamondbacks had to pack all their bags and go to the stadium to watch the game.
oh,
And if they would have made it, then they would have immediately went to the
that's
plane.
so painful.
Instead, they just had to turn around and unpack and.
Well, I hope they got a good meal in Atlanta. They probably got some good barbecue there.
Yeah. Oh
So,
boy.
like, well, we might as well get a good meal.
Right. God.
But,
R.I.P.
that's
Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember him. He was
No
a
fly zone.
very good defensive center, not a great offensive center, but as my youth, remember him very well. I remember when he won with Denver, when they held the ball like this. After beating Seattle, they were down, I think, 3-0, and they came back and won 4 in a row, or it was the best of 5. So they were down 2-0, and then they won the next 3. But yeah, he was good. He was good in those Geico commercials.
Yeah, I saw this old clip of him when he was on with Bomani Jones and the other guy, or it was Alonzo Mourning, who was his teammate at Georgetown.
Yeah.
And apparently he would just walk into a bar and just yell out, Who wants to sex Matumbo?
Everybody.
Yeah, and it worked. I mean, yeah.
Well, hey, when you're that
Why
big,
wouldn't it?
why not? And you're a
All
star.
right. All right, guys. Let's head through Mr. McMahon, episode 1. Pretty straightforward here. Although this documentary is pretty interesting because I think they started this before all the real nasty shit about Vince McMahon started coming out in 2021.
Although I will say this.
Yeah.
One of the rumors is because they have a big contract with Netflix, they wanted to get rid of Vince McMahon. So they wanted to put this out. So he'd have to leave so Netflix doesn't get any problems having WWE, if that makes sense.
Oh, I didn't know WWE was with Netflix now.
Yeah, it's coming to Netflix.
I think Maddie's right. It's just coming up now.
I didn't know that. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. That's interesting.
So if you do a hit piece on him, then you don't look so bad.
Right. And it's not even like has to be a hit piece because you're just sort of regurgitating shit that's already been said. So yeah, there's no, I mean, his story is fascinating, no matter which way you spin it.
Yes.
But yeah, it's gonna be a very bad ending for him. So the story I didn't know this.
Is it? He always gets out of trouble.
We'll see. We'll see if he's got a 5th act in him.
Yeah.
I didn't know Vince McMahon grew up in a trailer park.
Yes, he did.
He grew up with his mom and stepdad. He didn't even know Vince McMahon Sr. until he was 12.
Mm-hmm.
And that is funny because he said he went up to his dad and his dad just sort of like pats him on the head and was not very affectionate. And you see right away that this is his drive is to impress his dad, to make his dad happy because he wanted out of that trailer park. He used to get physically abused by his stepdad. So
and his stepmom.
Yeah, it's almost like a fairy tale kind of thing. Like, oh, I know there's someone's better out there for me.
It is wild that like
my real dad, like, yeah. So yeah, he got into the family business and he wanted to see what he could do with his dad. His dad didn't want to pay an announcer one night. An announcer was going to walk. So he's like, okay, son, you go do it. And so that's how he got in because dad didn't want to pay an announcer that night. So Vince Jr. just took over the reins and he wasn't very good in the beginning. Of course, it's a new trade for him. And quickly they go into him buying the WWE from his father. And Vince had aspirations. He had real vision that his father didn't. And pretty much nobody else did at the time. Because at the time, of course, it was all the territories.
Mm-hmm.
All the wrestling territories that we talked about on here. And Vince just starts rolling in. He would basically go to every territory and buy their biggest wrestler and then come back and do shows with that wrestler. So they would have a built-in crowd already, even though it wasn't in their territory.
That is a fact, Jack.
We had
I think like probably years ago you would think of him as a real scumbag for doing it, but as time goes on, people now are like, well, that's like free enterprise. He had a vision. He was I don't know. It's a hard one because all these guys were friends. They had a very good agreement of where to go, what to touch, what not to touch. And he just shit on all that and just did his own thing. And, a lot of people wanted to murder him.
Well, it's weird. The way he was explaining it didn't even make it sound bad. He's just like, I was just competition. That's all. They could have done it better and they didn't. I just did it better than them. So it's just one of those things where it's like, maybe I don't know. I don't think any of us would be talking about wrestling today if this kind of thing didn't happen.
No,
it might have been something we would have went to some local shows when we were growing up, and that was it.
Yes,
game over. But he really made it the commodity it is today. Weird thing too is that Vince's father, the first time he ever told him he loved him was the day before he died. Like how fucked up is that?
They didn't really.
But then they were working together and building That and
I
Vince
know.
Senior still worked for him after he bought the company too.
Look, there's a lot of things probably we don't know. We don't know about his real father and like, but I would imagine his real father was a hard man. You probably had to be to run a wrestling territory, especially the Northeast, because you're dealing with Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Um, I can't answer that, but I think Vince like never gave a fuck about anything he ever did because I think as in his childhood net nobody ever gave a fuck about what he did or what happened to him. So I
Oh
just
yeah.
think he psychologically, and I wish the documentary would get more into the psychological thing because Vince is a study. Like his brain is a study because of all the innovative things he could do. He's also a terrible guy. And you try to understand, like, well, what is he? You know, how
Yeah.
should we look at him?
No, he's freaking diabolical. I mean, they talked about like where he just doesn't have friends. Like
No, the
he
friend,
just he
the
goes on
business is his
vacation, all
friend.
he's doing is thinking about wrestling the whole time.
I mean, I don't know if
I
they
mean,
got
I feel
in.
like Jim would do that too,
Yeah,
but that's
they didn't get into the Razor Ramon thing, but when Razor came to the WWF, you know, he had a meeting with Vince, and they were kind of talking about ideas, and he's like, "I do a Scarface," and Scarface is one of the biggest movies of all time. Vince
yeah.
never even heard of the movie. I mean, we've all heard of it.
Right, of course. It's pop culture. Remember
Like
when MTV
everybody.
Cribs was on and every rapper had Scarface
This is 10
poster in?
years ago.
Yeah.
Like, so like when Razor comes in, what year did Scarface come out? Like 81, 80 or something?
Yeah, yeah. Early 80s, yeah.
This is literally 10 years ago, probably one of the biggest movies with some of the biggest movie stars, and he's never heard of it. He eats, sleeps, shit wrestling, his business.
Yeah. I mean, that's why he always won.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. So the promotion starts taking off. He's landing cable distribution on USA, which is where I first remembered it way back in the
Yes.
day.
Oh, the best.
Yeah, he started creating instead of just showing matches, he started having a talk show with the wrestlers, which was
Used to
really
love
funny.
those.
Yeah, it was really good stuff.
Yeah.
Then he was, I never saw this clip before where him and Bob Costas were on Letterman announcing births at the New York hospital or something.
Yeah, Letterman always like could find these weird guys, you know, like you'd have these whack packers.
It was refreshing too to see that Bob Costas enjoyed wrestling too, because he's
Yeah.
can be kind of a stick
And
in the
then he
mud in
dropped
certain
out.
things.
He pulls the plug at a certain time,
Yeah.
like he did with football as well.
Right. And then Vince decided he was on vacation with his wife because she forced him to take a vacation. That's where he thought up WrestleMania. And WrestleMania was huge and wrestlers were everywhere. And, you had Hulk Hogan and Cyndi Lauper and
So,
Mr. T and
yeah,
all this.
I think the first WrestleMania was on my birthday, 1985, when I was 9 or
Yeah.
wait, was I 9? I don't know. I was born in 7. Yeah, it must have been 9. But I couldn't watch it because it was hard to find it was called Short Circuit TV.
Closed circuit. You had to go
Closed
to like a
circuit.
theater that was
Yeah.
playing it.
But they had a 900 number and I called it maybe 12 times and it was like $2 a call. And $24 was a lot of money back then. My parents were not. But I was
Yeah.
like, I was a big Mike Rotundo, Barry Windham fan. They lost to Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volko. And I was shocked and I had to call to make sure I heard it right.
Yeah.
But I was so excited.
Wait, you had to call back? Wait, no, that can't be here. Another
Exactly what I
$2.
did. It was exciting. You know, Mr. T was a big star, and you had that and the whole training, and Roddy Piper was such a great bad guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was great. I mean, they should have talked more about my favorite guy, Bobby Heenan, because he was so important, but they
Well,
kind of just don't. He's more of a, I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. I wish Darkseid would just do a full Bobby the Brain episode. That would be great. But then this episode talks about the lawsuits from John Stossel
Yeah,
or
I remember
when the
that.
slap heard round the world that
And
we
my
covered
parents made
here.
me watch that because I love wrestling so
Right.
much. They sat me down to torture me and make me watch it.
Yeah, but to me, I'm like, yeah, that looks cool. You just slapped the shit out of John
Well,
Stossel.
they wanted me to prove it was fake because I
Right.
thought wrestling was real. And they're like, we're going to
Yeah.
make you watch this show because they told all the secrets.
I think I learned it was fake because my dad goes, yeah, Uncle Dave thinks this shit's real. He like
Yeah.
goes by it. Like my Uncle Dave, he was a full grown man.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Uncle Dave, but
But
apparently
some people thought it was real.
he was like in his 30s, Um, yeah. So it wraps up with that. So yeah, a lot of stuff, people like ourselves are going to know. Maddie, I know you've watched ahead a little bit, so
Yeah.
we'll
Also, we should talk about Hogan because it does into the developing of turning Hulk Hogan into this American hero, and that Vince did write all the lines, and that there was a part of Vince that was kind of resentful because he made this character Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan was getting all the rewards
yeah.
for it, and nobody was like looking at Vince, but that's kind of the way it goes, and he picked the right guy. Like you played little Dusty Rhodes before, and they talked
Yeah,
about
because that's what they were talking about. He
yeah.
thought Dusty Rhodes was going to be the guy to bring it in, and they didn't get into specifics on it. I kind of wish they would have, but just said Dusty wasn't ready for the moment, or it was just too
I
big of a
think
spotlight for
Dusty's
him.
body he didn't have a good body.
You think he wasn't body positive?
He had a big fat body. Like Hogan
No,
was
he wasn't
chiseled.
like a ripped dude, but man, that
Yeah.
guy could freaking work a mic.
He was
God.
more the common man, just like the
Yeah.
song.
I'm Dusty Rhodes, a common man.
He's just a common man. He's the American dream.
Oh my God. All right. Jim, do you got any thoughts on this?
This was, I mean, the intro part for it. It's like Maddie was saying, it's a lot of stuff that, especially for us who have been diving in on this wrestling stuff for a minute, not a lot of new information, but it got me kind of excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, things pick up in the next episode, and we'll see.
It's good so far.
Every time I see him, I always forget how goofy Vince McMahon looks now.
Yeah, just terrifying looking, just so weird.
Yeah.
Like a live puppet. Maddie, are you still watching the Aaron Hernandez
I
show?
am.
Should we be covering that instead?
So eventually we just finished part 4 where he's kind of finishing up with Florida and he's heading for the combine. And he's
do they like show him? Because remember the thing he never got convicted of, those 2 other murders down there.
Yeah.
Do they talk about that at all?
They show about the shooting in Florida where he shoots the guy in the eye and he popped the bartender right in the face.
Oh God.
So he just popped the guy. Him and Cam Newton didn't pay their bill. And he just cold cocked the guy right in the face.
Oh boy.
But when you can play like him,
Yep. Urban Meyer got your back, son.
Yeah. And they make Tebow look good because he gets into religion through Tebow. Tebow starts taking him to like church and stuff.
Tebow taught him this is how I ignore those feelings for men.
But Urban Meyer definitely does not come off good.
Now we'll review this thing.
One of the lines that they have Urban Meyer saying this when he's winning the Mackey Award for best tight end in college. Urban Meyer says to his wife, he's going to make the Hall of Fame or he's going to be in prison.
Yeah. Well, dying in prison.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. There you go. All right, guys. I think that does it for us for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week for another exciting edition of the Sports Hole.
All right, boys.
Bye-bye.